From the cacophony of voices that churn in human wreckage, Patricia Smith pulls lyrical threads and spins them into symphonies. Her work has been hailed as, quote, a testament to the power of words. Indeed, the voices that rise from her work are like bodies that ascend intact from the rubble, triumphant, enraged, transcendent. In Blood Dazzler, Smith offers a narrative of the devastation that was Hurricane Katrina, inhabiting the voices that trembled and roared through that tragedy and its aftermath, from the dying and the undead to Hurricane Katrina herself. The book was a 2008 National Book Award finalist. She'll be reading from it today. Smith's previous book, Tea House of the Almighty, was a National Poetry Series selection and winner of the Hurston Wright Award in Poetry. Her other poetry books are Close to Death, Life According to Motown, and Big Town's Big Talk. She's the winner of the Chautauqua Literary Journal Award in Poetry and a Pushcart Prize for the poem The Way Pilots Walk. Patricia Smith, poet, teacher, performance artist, author, hails from the early stomping grounds of slam poetry in 1980s Chicago, where she both legitimized and molded the craft of performance poetry, coalescing page and stage with enigmatic force. She's a 4-time individual champion of the National Poetry Slam, the most successful slammer in the competition's history, and she's been a featured poet on HBO's Def Poetry Jam and has performed 3 one-woman plays, one produced by Nobel Prize winner Derek Walcott. She has served as a Cave Canem faculty member, a Bruce McEver Visiting Chair in Writing at Georgia Tech University, and writer-in-residence at the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center. She currently teaches at the Stone Coast MFA program at the University of Southern Maine and at CUNY. We're very, very honored to have Patricia here today. She's been a great influence on me and actually was kind of part of my trajectory into the MFA program here at Iowa State University. So we're very proud to have her here. Welcome, Patricia Smith.
How's everyone doing? Can you hear me all right? All right. Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm very, very, very glad to be here. I am originally from the Midwest. Not Iowa, but the Midwest. And so it's almost like a bit of a homecoming. I'm going to, and thank you, Deborah. I appreciate it. I'm going to start my reading out. I start all my readings out with the same poem. And I've done that for probably about 10 years. And at one point I said, you know, everyone who's seen me has seen this poem and heard it a lot, and I'm going to stop. And I found I didn't feel like I was rooted unless I started with that. So I had to ask myself why. For about 10 or 11 years, I worked with a group of 6th graders in Miami. And when I first got there, the first year I came bounding in saying, well, I'm here to teach you poetry. And they're looking at me saying, well, how are you going to make our lives better? Because the area they were in had a high incidence of drug use. So a lot of the kids had lost parents or brothers or sisters to AIDS. And there was a little girl there by the name of Nicole. Her mother had died the week before, and she was already back in school. And she wanted me to teach her to write a poem about her mother. So I do this poem first because it reminds me of the power of language to take us from one place in our heads to a safer place, which is what she was asking me to help her do. You also have to excuse me, I'm getting over a cold, so every once in a while my voice will start to rattle, and I might have to cough, so I'm sorry about that. This is dedicated to the 6th grade class at Lily C. Evans Elementary School in Dade County, Miami, which they made me promise to say every time I did the poem. I am astonished at their mouthful names. Lacanicia, Chevelane, DeLeo, Fumaleo. Their ragged rebellions and lip gloss pouts and all those pants drooped as drapery. I rejoice when they kiss my face, whisper wet and urgent in my ear, make me their obsession because I have brought them poetry. They shout me raw, bruise my wrist with their pulling, and brashly claim me as mama as they cradle my head in their little laps, waiting for new words to grow in my mouth. You. Angry, jubilant, weeping poets. We are all saviors, reluctant hosannas in the limelight. But you knew that, didn't you? So let us bless this 6th grade class. 40 cracking voices, 40 nappy heads, and all of them raise their hands when I ask. They have all seen the Reaper, grim in his heavy robe, pushing the button for the Dead Project elevator, begging for a break at the corner pawn shop, cackling wildly in the back pew of the Baptist church. I asked the death question, and 40 fists punched the air. Me! And O'Neill, matchstick crackchild, watched his mother's body become a claw. And 9-year-old Tico Jefferson, barely big enough to lift the gun, fired a bullet into his throat when Mama bended his back with a lead pipe. Tamika cried into a sofa pillow when Daddy blasted Mama into the north wall of their cluttered one-room apartment. Danya's cousin, gone in a drive-by. Dark window. Click, 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 gone, says Danya, her tiny finger a barrel, the thumb a hammer. I am astonished at their losses. And yet when I read a poem about my own hard-eyed teenager, Jeffrey asks, is he dead yet? Cannot be comprehended. My 18-year-old still pushing and pulling his own breath. And 40 faces pity me, knowing that I will soon be as they are, numb to our bloodied histories, favoring the Reaper with a thumbs up and a wink, hearing the question and shouting, Me, Miss Smith, I know somebody dead. Can poetry hurt us, they ask me, before crawling into my words to sleep. I love you, Nicole says. Nicole wearing my face, pimples peppering her nose, and she is as black as angels are. Nicole's braids kissed with match flame to seal them. And can you teach me to write a poem about my mama, Miss Smith? I mean, you write about your daddy, and he's dead. Can you teach me to remember my mama? A teacher tells me this is the first time Nicole has admitted that her mother is gone. Murdered by slim silver needles and a stranger rifling through her blood, the virus pushing her skeleton through for Nicole to see. And now this child with rusty knees and mismatched shoes sees poetry as her scream and asks me for the words to build her mother again, replacing the voice, stitching on the lost flesh. So poets, as we take the stage, as we flirt and sin and rejoice behind microphones, remember Nicole. She knows that we are here now, and she is an empty vessel waiting to be filled. And she is waiting. And she's waiting. And she waits. I'm going to do a couple of poems that aren't in Blood Dazzler. I think the majority of the reading will be Blood Dazzler. But I realize one of the things when you're putting together, anybody who's put together a poetry book, or I guess even a book of short stories, is you try to balance it. You try to balance the tone and the theme and have the longer poems and the shorter poems and the funny poems and the not so funny poems. And there's a place for each one of them. But when you're working on something like Katrina, there aren't any real lighthearted poems. And so just to kind of counter that a little, I thought I'd do a little few pieces before that. I've done a lot of traveling as a poet, but my very first trip as a poet was to Paris. And you know how Americans, when they go someplace else, they try to act like they know everything already? oh, that would be the Mona Lisa. I would, So I was with my friend Patricia Zamora, and she's this wonderful Chicana. And we were, they opened the Louvre and they let us in, and we were running up, and we were adults, mind you. We were running up and down the halls, pointing at things and trying to touch the pictures and taking flash photos of things that are supposed to crumble if you take flash photos of them. It's a typical ugly American. But we had so much fun. And so this is a poem about about celebrating discovery. It's okay not to know everything, So this is called Doing the Louvre, and it is dedicated to my friend Pat Zamora. Sorry. You're a junkie just like I am. After we've dumped your husband at the Louvre's cafe to sip the steaming tea and chew on his poetry, we're off like schoolgirls, screeching in duet, dazzled by the bright eternal gasp of ancient things. We've got no business here, homegirl and compañera. We've got no business closing our mouths around this sharp, exquisite language or savoring the sweet tongue squeeze of pastries, shining cakes, and shaved chocolates. We're of simpler stock, city and country dust, collard greens, moon pies, bullet holes, and basement slow dances. We are shamelessly American, rough street girls with rusty knees, the flip side of cocky Parisian wisp and slim cashmere coats the color of tobacco. Girlfriend, you and I are too much scream for this place, but you're a junkie just like I am. Too long denied access to official beauty, we walk these streets with our mouths open and faces tilted up, swallowing everything, swallowing it all, much too much scenery and sound for our thin American throats. We gawk at cathedrals with their gargoyles bleached to an eerie snarl by bright slashes of moon. Say goodbye, we mean yes. Good morning, we mean how much. Ask for bread, we need the toilet. We are amazed that no one is asking for all of this back, that we are allowed to bask in this city's light. I can still hear my mama as plain and practical as a cast-iron skillet. Child, you need to stop all that foolishness over there in some France where you don't know nothing or nobody. Ain't no black folks over there nohow. But I know you, old friend, with your bright burnished tangle of hair and deep laugh, and right now these halls belong to us. There are bad girls loose in the Louvre. Girls soft as gunshots. Girls nourished and fueled by silvers, silks, and the stone gaze of Napoleon. We laugh at the smashed noses of Egyptian rulers, stare at the tiny mummified feet of a young girl, mistake Goya for Gauguin, and rub what surfaces we can, including the marble cocks of towering deities. When we say things like, "Hey, I think I saw it on a postcard once," or, "Do you know how old this thing is? How can the world help but love us? We would give Venus our arms." After 8 hours clicking our hungry heels and snapping illicit flash photos in dark halls brimming with ancient music, we finally find the Mona Lisa. Alone. Caged and antiseptic behind that glass every woman wears, and we wonder how best to free her, knowing she's a junkie just like we are. She longs for our wild voices, our naive, accidental beauty. She's aching to ditch that frame and skip these hallowed halls with the homegirls, mistake the obscene for the exquisite, and gaze at unsolved mysteries that just for once are not her own. All right. I'm going to do, I think I'll read from Dazzler now. I usually do a lot of talking about this book, but I won't since we have a panel discussion immediately following this. You do need to know that in this book, Katrina is personified. So you get to hear a lot about how she thinks and feels. And the first few poems I'm going to read are as Katrina is, before Katrina becomes Katrina and she's taking shape. 5 p.m. Tuesday, August 23rd, 2005. Data from an Air Force Reserve Unit reconnaissance aircraft, along with observations from the Bahamas and nearby ships, indicate the broad low-pressure area over the southeastern Bahamas has become organized enough to be classified as Tropical Depression 12. National Hurricane Center. A muted thread of gray light, hovering ocean, becomes throat, pulls in wriggle, anemone, kelp, widens with the want of it. I become a mouth, thrashing hair, an overdone eye. How dare the water belittle my thirst, treat me as just another small disturbance, try to feed me from the bottom of its hand? I will require praise, unbridled winds to define my body, a crime behind my teeth, because every woman begins as weather, sips slow thunder and knows her hips. Every woman harbors a chaos and can wait for it, straddling a fever. For now, I console myself with small furies, those dips in my dawning system. I pull in a bored breath. The brine shivers. 11 a.m. Wednesday, August 24th. Satellite imagery, Doppler radar data from the Bahamas and Miami indicate Tropical Depression 12 has become much better organized and has strengthened into Tropical Storm Katrina. The difference in a given name. What the calling, the hard K, does to the steel of me, how suddenly and surely it grants me pulse and petulance. Now I can do my own choking. I can thread my fingers with grimace and spit zephyr, a gentle marking of the very first time I felt that crisp-bladed noun in my own mouth. 7 p.m. Thursday, August 25th, 2005. Hurricane Katrina makes landfall in Florida. I see what this language does, and taste soil on my tongue, and feel brick splintering spine, and hear them, and want it all. 8 a.m. Sunday, August 28th, Katrina becomes a Category 5 storm, the highest possible rating. For days, I've been offered blunt slivers of larger promises. Even flesh, my sweet recurring dream, has been tantalizingly dangled before me. I have crammed my mouth with buildings, brushed aside skimpy altars, snapped windows to bright shatter with my fingers, and I warned them soft. You must not know my name. Could there be other weather, other divas stalking the cringing country with insistent eye? Could there be other rain laced with the slick flick of electric and my own pissed boom? Or could this be it? Finally, my praise day. All my fists at once? Now, officially a bitch, I'm confounded by words. All I've ever been is starving, fluid, and noise. So I huff a huge sulk, thrust out my chest, and open wide my solo swallowing eye. You must not know. Scarlet glare fixed on the trembling crescent. I fly. There are a series of poems in this book. My husband, at the time I was working on this book, saw a writing coach for Associated Press, and he would bring home photographs that couldn't be run in the paper for various reasons, usually because they were too graphic. And some of the photographs inspired some of these poems. But the one that stuck with me the most was a dead dog draped over a power line. And I've always been one of those people who really confessed that I didn't really understand dog people, or cat people for that matter. But I did realize that there were a lot of people who considered their pets as part of their family, and that Katrina struck those family units as hard as any others. So I wanted to, I started thinking about a dog, and because there were a lot of storms in the Gulf region, people would go out and they would tie their dog to a tree with water and food out and say, now you hunker down, we'll be back. And then this time they didn't come back. So there's a dog in this book, and his name is Luther B. So I'm going to read a few Luther B. pieces for you. On page 10. Won't be but a minute. Tie Luther B. to that cypress. He going to be all right. That dog done been rained on before. He done been here a day or two by himself before, and we sure can't take him. Just leave him some of that food and plenty of water. Bowls and bowls of water. We're going to be back home as soon as this thing pass over. Luther B. going to watch the place while we gone. You heard the man on TV. He said to go. And you know white folks don't warn us about nothing unless they scared too. We're going to just wait this storm out. Then we're going to come back home. Get our dog. The dawn of Luther B.'s best day. Luther B., month mangy and chained down against Mudear's shade tree, feels a little thrill shoot through his planted paws. He sniffs questions in the swirled air. Suddenly, the day is touching him. The mutt whimpers, raps yaps, twists his stout squatness, strains against thick links and moans a wavering oh. But nobody's coming this time. Nobody to scratch the dead skin behind his ears. No Mudear hubbling out in scuffs and shift, cussing and carrying a fresh can of heaven. All that's reaching for him now is the sky, the goddaddy, pressing down fast, cracks of purple in its fingers. Luther B. writhes on his back in the dirt, tumbling the fleas, then forces himself still. Snout upturned, he watches his deliverance come closer. With the first plops of rain, he snarls low and realizes just what kind of dog he is. Itchy, utterly bitchless, locked to the skin of a tree, but fat with future. And now there's a cool day coming. Hot damn. Luther B. rides out the storm. Lord have mercy, Mudear would moan, slow and real Baptist-like, every time some kink swerved her day. An August noon, sweating the sugar out of her just-pressed hair, a run in her last pair of church stockings. Luther B. sympathized with the cock of his thick head. Now in the looped reloop of dog thought, he wonders about that Lord and mercy and Mudear's little surrenders. His wet yelps and winding croon reach nothing. Wobbling, he latches muzzle to the wall of wind. There's got to be some good living at the end of this. Maybe a pork chop with some religion still hanging from it. Or a skillet scrape of Mudear's fat oxtails and onion rice. Bet there's daybreak stacking up behind those clouds, regular, with quiet moons behind them, rolled up and ready. The day's pewter howling wounds a rib, darkens Luther B.'s itching with blood. Paddling in frantic blue circle, he fights his slippery chain and treads toward a little bit more of remember. That damn dog ain't nothing but trouble, but I love me some Luther B. I love him to death. Mudear thinks on Luther B. I bet he done broke loose. Rottweiler, bull, whatever that damn dog is, he can eat and he can swim. And show them teeth like that's supposed to scare somebody. Luther B., much as that dog like living, he know what to do with some water. Knowing him, he's probably backstroking, swimming the ninth, looking for something good to fill that big greedy gut of his. Thinking this all a show put on just for him. No, don't y'all worry nothing about Luther B. He harder to shake than a buck-toothed man. Luther B. ascends. Sketched against a wearied patch of earth, smashed level with the mud, smalled by roaring days and a sky he trusted. This beast, this child. Now, let's skip that one. Okay, do nothing. Everybody should remember Ethel Freeman. Ethel Freeman was waiting with her son Herbert for a bus to take them away from the convention center. And they're waiting at the tip of a long line. And Ethel kept asking her son, "Is the bus coming, baby? Could that be the bus? That looks like the bus." And he said, "No, Mom, not yet." And he covered her against the sun. And when the bus finally arrived, he went to tell his mother, and she had died in her wheelchair. The bus driver told Herbert that if he didn't come with them, then there'd be no guarantee that they could come back and get him. And so he was forced to leave his mother there, where her body stayed for 3 days. This is Ethel Sestina. Gonna be obedient in this here chair. I'm gonna bide my time and fan against this sun. I ask my boy, and all he says is, "Wait." He wipes my brow with steam, says I should sleep. I trust his every word. Herbert, my son, I believe him when he say help gonna come. Been so long since all these suffering folks come to this place. Now on the ground round my chair, they sweat in my shade. They keep asking my son, could that be a bus they see? It's the sun fooling them, shining much too loud for sleep, making us hear engines and wheels. Not yet though. Wait. Lord, some folks are praying for rain while they wait, forgetting what rain can do. When it come, it smashes living flat, wakes you from sleep, eats the street, washes you clean out the chair you be sitting in. Best to praise this sun, shine its dry shine. Lord have mercy, son, is it coming? Such a strong man, my son. Can't help but believe when he tells us to wait. Now wait some more. I wish some trees would block this sun. We wait. Ain't no white men or buses come, but look. See that there? Get me out this chair. Help me stand on up. Ain't no time for sleeping, 'cause look what's rumbling this way. If you sleep, you're gonna miss it. Look there, I tell my son. He don't hear. I'm about to get out this chair, but the ghost in my legs tells me to wait. Wait for the salvation that's sure to come. I see my Savior's face alongside that sun. Nobody sees me running toward the sun. Lord, they think I done just gone and fell asleep. They don't hear, come, 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 come. Ain't but one power make me leave my son. I can't wait, Herbert. Lord knows I can't wait. Don't cry, boy. I ain't in that chair no more. I wish you could have come on this journey, son. Seen that old sweet sun lift me out of sleep. I didn't have to wait. And see my golden chair. One of the things, my husband was in charge of a group of reporters in New Orleans, and he would get notes back from the field. I got 4 more poems. And These poems I'm going to do, next two poems I'm going to do, basically come from stories that he heard. One reporter was going around with the teams who were going door to door looking for bodies, and recalled finding what they thought was a doll. Looking for bodies. 1. Slowly push the door open with your foot, because wood that has been wet so long gives to touch and imitates flesh. Do not kick the door open, no matter how weirdly your heart drums. There may be something all wrong behind it. Push and immediately drown in what could be ordinary, if ordinary was a crusted saucepan, toppled rockers, pine-framed portraits of newly baptized babies, and fathers with overloads of teeth. Allow yourself his lunatic smile as you spy signs of ritual and days undone. Bright ghost of skirts and work shirts, or the spiraled grace of decapitated dolls doing their blind dance and bumping your knees. Eventually, you will need these diversions. You will lock your fractured heart upon them, because what you will see next will hurt you long and aloud. A monstered smell sings her out of hiding, and at first you believe that one doll, plumper than the rest, and still intact, survived the deluge. But then you guide the gold of her into your arms, blessing the droop and blown skin, marveling at the way her soul rides slickly on the outside of everything, how it ripples the water, how it so deftly dams your hands. Yeah. Oh, you know what? I just thought instead of the other one, I'm going to read what Betsy has to say. In 1965, Hurricane Betsy hit New Orleans and 75 people died. And this is Betsy talking to Katrina. No nuance. You got no whisper in you, do you, girl? The idea was not to stomp it flat, Trina. All you had to do was kiss the land, brush your thunderous lips against it, and leave it stuttering, scared barren at your very notion. Instead, you roared through like a goddamned man, all biceps and must, flinging your dreaded mane and lifting souls up to feed your ravenous eye. I thought I taught you better, girl. I showed you the right way to romance that city, how to break its heart and leave it pining for more of your slap. So if this was your way of erasing me, turning me from rough lesson to raindrop, you did it ugly, child. Yeah, I truly enjoyed being God for that minute. But unlike you, rash gal, I left some of my signature standing. I only killed what got in my way. And this didn't start out to be a book. It started out with one poem. And I'm going to do this one and one more. This one's a little long. The one story that stayed with me throughout Katrina was the story of the 34 nursing home residents who were left behind. And what I wanted to do with this poem is, there were so many tragedies during Katrina that, you know, you would start to focus on one and start to feel, and then something else would happen and you would be like this the whole time. And we knew that there were 34 people, but we didn't hear any voices. We didn't know anything else about them, really. And so what I wanted to do was kind of turn back the clock for a minute and give those 34 people a minute of their voices back. So that was what I tried to do in this poem. So it is 34 very small stanzas. Some of them are as little as a line. And that's all I'm going to tell you about that. St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana. 34 bodies were found drowned in a nursing home where people did not evacuate. More than half the residents of St. Rita's nursing home, 20 miles southeast from downtown New Orleans, died August 29th when floodwaters from Hurricane Katrina reached the home's roof. 1. I believe Jesus is hugely who he says he is. The crook of an arm, a shadow threatening my hair, a hellish glare beneath the moonwash, a slapping storm that wakes me, the washing clean. 2. The reaper has touched his lips to my days, blessing me with gray fragrance and awkward new skin. What makes the dust of me smell like a dashed miracle, the underside of everything? What requires me to hear the bones? 3. Before the rain stung me like silver, I had forgotten me. My name was a rude visitor, arriving unannounced, always without a gift, and then leaving too soon. 4. If you knew my alley, it's stinking blue. If you knew dirt-gritted collard greens and salt pork slick and doused with Tabasco, then you knew me. I know that you've come with my engine and the rest of my skin. You will rise me. 5. Son don't rise, daughter don't know enough to dial a phone. It gets harder to remember how my womb folded because of them, how all of me lumbered with their foolish weight. You see what they done? How hard and sweet they dropped me here? 6. Clumps of earth in the rising and me too weathered to birth a howl. I sleep in small shadows. I climb the bitten left wall of my heart. In all the places I fall, it's dry. 7. We knew we had been bred for sacrifice. Our overflow of yesterday is too wretched a nudge, our tired hearts borderless and already mapped for the motherland. We reach for the past like it is food and we are starving. Our surfaces are scoured. We are prepared. We are wrapped in white. 8. When help comes, it'll be young men smelling like cigarettes in Chevys. Muscled boys with autumn breath and steel baskets just the right size for our souls. To save us, they will rub our gums with hard bread. They will offer us water. 9. To cool the fever, you rub the sickness with some wet earth. For swelling, you boil a just plucked chicken and then you douse the hurt in the steam. Always from the position of your knees, you create the Savior that you need. And then you wait. Wait. Jesus. Both faith and magic done failed. 10. There is no light, no thin food moving through my arms. Even without machines, I feel my numbers have soared. I'm a sudden second of leaving. I'm cold. And I'm strapped to this country. 11. Daughter, son, I am bursting with this. I am straining to celebrate the links of blood. I am wide aloud, craving something shaped like you. 12. There are no bridges. 13. We are stunned on our scabbed backs. There's the sound of whispered splashing and then this. Leave them. 14. Our Father. 15. The walls are slithering with spit, tears, and the badness that muddies rivers. We flail in that sin, alive and bended beneath a wretched southern rain. We sip our breath from that filthy ocean. Only some things float. 16. I ain't scared of no wet, no wave. I didn't see more than this. God is in all houses. Just balance the huge noun of him on your tongue. 17. Wait with me. Watch me sleep in this room that looks so much like night. I'm gonna wake up. I swear it. To some kind of sun. 18. 19. My name is Earlene, and I'm going to save you my life. Sugar in my veins, a single cloudy eye, and blood when I pee. Half dead. That's what I used to tell them. Hell, I'm already half dead. 20. I have forgotten how to pray. Cannot find my knees. I want the man with my needles. I want that sting, those silver holes in my body. I want my needles. I want to sleep for days. I want somebody's hand. 21. Hallowed be thy name. 22. Hollow be our names. Call us running boards, the Iceman, Big Band, possum and stewing pots. Twist our heads on snapping necks back to where we danced from. Call us names that are barely necessary. Call us those who do not need these days. 23. Big Easy. I ran your green, rolled in your red dust, and your sun turned the white of me red and the black of me blue. Funny how colored I got, how I absorbed your heat, and how you, without flinching, called me your child. 24. God, we just need some of your glitter. You know those miracles you do? You know the ones you do for no reason at all? 25. I fight the rise with all the guitar left in my throat. Old folks got stuff to say, ain't got but a little time to say it. We don't never die quiet. 26. A sudden ocean of everyone's shoulders. 27. And this scripture. Leave them. 28. And I am left, no deity hovering, no black hair on my head, all of me thinner than when I began. Fingers of ice climb me, reach my dimming light, and then choke my only angel. 29. I had the rumble hips, I tell you. I was sling back and press curl and big titties with necessary milk. I was somebody's woman. I was the city where the city wasn't. Louisiana, goddamn, you lied to me so lush. 30. I lost my sin in that war, but I ain't gonna need these old eyes for this resurrection. That's gonna be one hell of a line. I'll be the one slightly off center. I might be facing the wrong way. 31. They left us. Me, him, our crinkled hands. They left our hard histories, our gone children and storytells. They left the porch creaking. They left us to our God, but our God was mesmerized elsewhere, watching his reign. 32. Thy will be done. 33. No more of us, stunned and silent on the skin of this sea, this thunderous wet. We bob and bounce and spin slow, draped in odd sparkle. 34. The under-earth turns its face to us. Leave them. And I have one more poem. Since Katrina is a woman in the book, I started thinking of who her family would be, and the logical place to look would be the excuse me, would be the other hurricanes in 2005. So, and as you know, there's the A to Z list, and as they occur, they check them off. And the list reoccurs every 5 years unless there's been a certain amount of damage or destruction, and then that name is retired. So there will never be another Hurricane Katrina. So this is called Siblings. Sorry. Arlene learned to dance backwards in heels that were too high. Brett prayed for a shaggy mustache made of mud and hair. Cindy just couldn't keep her windy legs together. Dennis never learned to swim. Emily whispered her gust into 1,000 skins. Franklin, far-sighted and anxious, bumbled villages. Gert spat her matronly name against the city's flat face. Harvey hurled a wailing child high. Irene, the baby girl, threw wild tantrums. Jose liked the whip sound of slapping. Lee just craved the whip. Maria's thunder skirts flew high when she danced. Nate was mannered and practical. He stormed precisely. Ophelia nibbled weirdly on the tips of depressions. Felipe slept too late, floating on a wronged ocean. Rita was a vicious flirt. She woke Felipe with rumors. Stan was born business, a gobbler of steel. Tammy crooned country, getting the words all wrong. Vince died before anyone could remember his name. Wilma opened her maw wide, flashing rot. None of them talked about Katrina. She was their odd sister, the Blood Dazzler. Thank you. Thank you very much.